Welcome back, and this time it's just what the chef ordered for you, Extra Special. This is where we take a close look at the issues affecting the everyday lives of everyday people, Nigerians like you, I, and Judith. Today, we turn our focus to a challenge that is reshaping how Nigerians travel, the escalating cost of transportation, particularly air travel. But then, on land again, it's still very expensive. Rising costs across all transport sectors have made movement an uphill battle, and that's literal for millions of Nigerians. For instance, air travel, once considered a safer option to avoid the insecurities of road, is now out of reach for most, with international flight tickets costing anywhere from 900,000 naira to 6.5 million, depending how you fly. Even domestic flights have seen a 280% hike in fares over the past 7 years. The result? A staggering 60% drop in passenger tariff at major airports like Murtala Mohammed International Airport, which used to be teeming with people, but right now just a common few. Now, that's also the case in Abuja as well. It's no different because people no longer fly inter-country.
And so beyond air travel, road and water transport costs have also skyrocketed as well, rising by 403% and 149% respectively. Now, these increases aren't just numbers. They represent significant barriers to economic opportunity, access to jobs, and even tourism. So how are Nigerians coping with these high costs? And what are the potential solutions? So joining us today to discuss this further is Stanley Ikechukwu. He's the head of operations at SBM Intelligence. And they also did a report on this, which we're going to get into. But Stanley, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate
Stanley,
you
thank you for coming. How did you get here? Did you
fly?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, we took care of that. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
But then again,
very kind. We're super kind.
When was the last time you actually went from here to, say, VI in a e-ride hailing service, and how much did it cost you?
I can tell you how much it cost me.
Well, it's been a long time I actually did that because when you go on the app and you look at the prices, you might just consider taking public bus.
What are the prices that you've seen lately?
And so, say from where I stay, within Ikeja to, say, VI, costing around 15,000 naira.
Who can afford that?
That's about right.
Who can afford that?
I don't want to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. But the statistics we reeled out paints a very grim picture of rising, transport costs. And one has to ask about, how have these increases affected the average Nigerian? Because the average, we have to put them into context, right? And this is not us being in the office and those who are clothed and sitting here, or the middle class or the upper middle. I don't even consider myself upper middle class, right? I'm talking about the average Nigerian, those who are on the road, who take the bus every day, who start off at their factory job or their, market job or their carpentry job. Those are the average Nigerians that are going through it. So
the thing is, we need to look at the transport system as a whole, not just in isolation of one part.
Right.
What transportation does is, movement of people from one place to another means that it creates social cohesion. It brings about national integration and all of those things. It also facilitates education. It facilitates cultural exchanges. It facilitates trade and business opportunity. In business opportunity, you also see something like business expansion. When you have business expansion, in the heart of it is more job creation. When you create jobs, it means that your people are productive and your people can make more money to be able to take care of themselves. But in the absence of this, it's the direct opposite that we're looking at. So the biggest impact is not just around, say, people who take buses. The cost of living is going up because of cost of transportation that is also going up. We remember that when fuel subsidy was removed, it immediately, every other thing, prices skyrocketed. The industries that are directly affected when it comes to, say, what we consume, we look at the agricultural industry now. The cost to move, say, yam from Benue to Lagos, it's not the same price it used to be, say, 2, 3, 4 years ago. This impact, as a result of fuel subsidy removal, has affected the cost of yam. If you go to the market today, the cost of a sizable tuber of yam goes for almost 5,000 naira. But before 2 years from now, 3 years before now, that same size is going for maybe around 1,000 naira. So how many Nigerians are able to afford, these changes and the income is also now growing. It's also affecting the tourism industry. A lot of people used to travel down to, say, Abeokuta to look at the rock and all of those things. All those things are not possible anymore because before you spend, you have to do your calculation very well and ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth me traveling to explore, to look at new places, or should I just save my money for what I don't even know is coming? So we need to look at transport as a whole.
Taking a look at how everything applies into this implication now, it all stems from the removal of fuel subsidies, which is saying, well, I would assume. Now, let's take a look at the aviation sector specifically. If there are no customers, how will the aviation sector survive is my query. Are we looking at, in the future, it's already poor, the state of it now. So what are we looking at come the future where nobody uses aviation for transport, maybe just only government officials, perhaps?
What happens to the hundreds and thousands of workers scattered across
the workers, exactly.
the airports?
There's the workers, there's the infrastructure, because that needs to be taken care of. You can only take care of that, maintain that, if you had customers.
So if you look at the aviation itself, you look at it as a service sector. It's a reflection of the current situation of the Nigerian economy. And it's not just the aviation sector. Almost every sector is a reflection of what the Nigerian economy today is. When people are not able to afford, say, flights, because we've considered it as the safest means to travel because the roads are no longer safe. And when a one-way trip is starting from around 110,000 naira, how many Nigerians are able to afford it? It means that not even over time, currently the percentage has dropped by 60%. This 60% also means that when the aviation sector can no longer, or when people are not able to afford it, the sector begins to suffer, it begins to lose revenue. When it does lose revenue, they begin to cut down on costs of running the aviation sector. Cutting down on cost will affect the quality of travel. Again, it will also lead to job losses.
Social mobility.
Yeah, when it leads to job losses, we all know what happens. It leads to more unemployed people on the road. And, the social instability of the economy will continue to rise.
And tourism, you spoke about that. How does that affect tourism? We didn't have a healthy tourism sector in the beginning to start with. And now, if I can't go to Abeokuta in my car because it's going to cost me 40,000 naira, what's going to happen to that sector?
Like you said, that sector is as good as dead. I mean, the last the last major big hype we got around tourism in Nigeria was the Cross River States, the Obudu Cattle Ranch and all of that. But if you go there today, it's a shadow of itself. Nothing works there anymore. So the sector has not been growing. It hasn't gotten the right kind of investment. And again, we look at tourism as just, you want to go to one place.
Yeah, we don't look at the ancillary sectors that surround it. Transportation is a big part, and I didn't even realize that until now.
Yeah, because if you look at a country like Dubai, what they did was they built, a tourism sector and also built an airline to connect people and made it cheaper. A lot of Nigerians, most people, they say if you want to really free up your passport, Dubai is actually the fastest place you can, get a visa. And it costs you just little amount to go and come back.
Not anymore.
These things are actually not difficult to replicate here, but some of the policies that the government put in place, most especially when this administration took office, put in two key policies at the same time that cannot go together: the removal of fuel subsidy and the devaluation of Naira. Those two things couldn't have happened at the same time. That's why we're having this problem. Maybe one should have gone first, then we look at the situation very well before you implement or bring about the other policy. But putting these two policies together at the same time is the result we're seeing today: high inflation, unemployment, and other things.
Stanley, I have to, bring to fore the dilemma of the average Nigerian, right? And putting that on the backdrop of rising insecurity on the road. Air travel used to be the safest option. It's now been eroded, by this price hike that we've seen. Average Nigerian cannot even take the air. Now, with the hike we've seen on the road, they also cannot take the road. 408% thereabout, they cannot take the road. how are average Nigerians navigating, transportation coming into December, the Ember period?
So that would be very, very difficult for a lot of Nigerians. So most especially people from the Southeast who during
home, yeah.
The Ember period, it's a tradition for them. I spoke to a couple of people and they were like, how would I have to transport myself and my family from Lagos down to the Southeast at an exorbitant amount? It cost about 45,000 naira for just a trip to the Southeast. Something that used to cost around 10, 11, 12,000 naira before. It's actually going to be difficult, but what a lot of them have finally agreed to is that they just will cancel it. They sit back here and hope that things change.
And what are the economic implications of that for the East and for places like Lagos or Abuja?
So what we know is that before, during the Ember period, we used to see the congestion of Lagos Road.
Yes.
A lot of people were moving down south, and we used to see a lot of traffic in the southeast. What this simply means is that the revenue that Lagos generates during this period, it cuts off a little, and most of those money goes down to the southeast. The revenue in the southeast within that period actually increases because a lot of people are moving, money, not like big money, but money to sustain them for a period of time in the southeast, and they spend a lot of this money on hotels. Hotels make money, businesses make money, economic activities around the southeast improve during that period. But when this is unable to happen, I don't think the revenue in the southeast will even increase an inch.
Well, so we're looking at a year with congestions in Lagos and not really much happening in the East where everything's supposed to be happening.
Now that we're even talking about this, I'm thinking about holidays for the international sector, right? Just to put into context the middle class and how it's shrunk.
Oh, it's not going to be a dirty December.
That's
her concern, right?
I don't think.
The IJTV is going to be back.
No, we should actually.
Would it be dirty, but also will the middle class be able to travel like they normally do for those who leave the country to go have a very white Christmas?
For me, I think December will be like January. I don't think there will be a December in quotes. It will just be moving into any other month. We would not see a lot of spending to come this December. A lot of people are actually cutting down on costs everywhere possible. People are doing 101, 110, or even 100. So having to save a lot of, because that's what happened. People save a lot and spend in December. There is no saving anymore, and there's no money to be spent in December. So December will come like every other month. We just will continue to survive and hope that, somehow a miracle happens. I don't know how that would happen.
Well, Ikechukwu, I want to say thank you very much. So I guess with all that's been said, you're not going back home this December, are you?
No, I'm not going back.
Aha,
His family is here in Lagos, isn't it?
Yeah, they are. But as it stands, I think I'm an IDP because the insecurity situation in my town it's
then there is
overbearing.
that.
Yeah, so I don't think even if I have the money.
I think it's look, when we think about it, it's when you I don't have words. I don't have words.